Unmaster your vision. Watch money chase you. You are not poor because you lack money. You are poor because you lack a vision that money can recognize. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you the one invisible force that separates people who endlessly chase money and never catch it from people who simply stand still, hold a vision, and watch money come running toward them like a river flowing downhill. Do not scroll away. Do not let this moment pass. Because what I am about to explain is the exact mechanism that built every fortune you have ever envied, and the exact mechanism that has kept you from yours. If something inside you just woke up, if you feel the fire starting to build in your chest, then I need you to pause right now and hit that subscribe button, because what is coming next will show you exactly how to weaponize this vision. And the person you are about to become cannot afford to miss a single word of what this channel will teach you, because your old life ends here and your new one is being built right now in your mind. On Astros, most people walk through life carrying a fundamental and catastrophic confusion about the nature of vision. They believe that visualizing success, wealth, or achievement is a form of escapism, a pleasant mental vacation from the harshness of their current reality, a momentary indulgence in fantasy that provides temporary emotional relief before the weight of real life reasserts itself. They think of vision as something soft, optional, and ultimately disconnected from the practical mechanics of building an actual life. And because they hold this belief, consciously or unconsciously, they treat their mental images with the same casual disregard they would give to a daydream. They visit them occasionally when they feel inspired. They abandon them the moment difficulty appears. And they never commit to them with the seriousness, the discipline, the relentless focus that the process actually requires. And then they wonder why their circumstances never change, why their financial situation remains locked in place, why opportunity seems to favor everyone except them. This confusion is not a minor philosophical error. It is the single greatest barrier between the life they are living and the life they are capable of living, because vision is not the opposite of practicality. Vision is not fantasy dressed up in motivational language. Vision is not wishful thinking or positive daydreaming or mental self-soothing. Vision, true vision, disciplined vision, emotionally charged and relentlessly maintained vision is the invisible architectural blueprint that physical reality uses to construct itself. And once you understand this, not as a metaphor, not as an inspiring idea, but as a mechanical truth about how manifestation actually operates, everything changes. Look around you right now. Every single object within your field of vision existed first as a thought in someone's mind. On the chair you are sitting on, the device you are reading this on, the building you are inside, the clothes on your body, none of these things appeared accidentally. None of them materialized out of thin air. Every one of them began as a clear mental image held with enough focus, on enough emotional commitment, and enough repetitive reinforcement that it eventually crossed the threshold from invisible to visible, from imagination to incarnation, from the realm of thought into the realm of physical form. This is not philosophy. This is history. This is engineering. This is the documented, observable, universally consistent pattern by which every human creation has ever come into existence. Someone saw it first in their mind. They held that vision with clarity. They revisited it repeatedly. They refined the details. They felt the emotional reality of its completion before a single physical action was taken. And then and only then did the physical steps required to bring it into being become obvious, accessible, and achievable. The vision came first, always, without exception. And this is not limited to objects. This same process governs the creation of wealth, the construction of businesses, the building of careers, the transformation of circumstances. And every fortune that has ever been accumulated began as a mental image in the mind of someone who refused to let that image die. They did not see it once and move on. They lived inside it. They revisited it daily. They added sensory detail until the vision became more vivid than their current reality. They charged it with emotion until their nervous system could not distinguish between the imagined future and lived experience. And because they did this, because they treated the vision not as a daydream but as a blueprint, reality had no choice but to begin reorganizing itself around that image. And this is where most people fail catastrophically. They confuse having a vision with maintaining a vision. They confuse a momentary spark of inspiration with the disciplined, daily, emotionally reinforced practice of holding an image in the mind until it becomes unshakable. They think that because they once imagined wealth or success or freedom, they have completed the visioning process. But vision is not an event. It is a discipline. It is a practice. It is a relentless, non-negotiable commitment to feeding your subconscious mind the same clear, unemotionally alive image every single day until that image becomes the dominant operating instruction governing your decisions, your focus, your actions, and your expectations. Without this discipline, what you call vision is nothing more than passing entertainment for a restless mind. And it changes nothing because it commands nothing. But when vision is built correctly, with precision, repetition, sensory richness, and emotional intensity, it stops being a thought and becomes a force, a gravitational center around which circumstances, people, opportunities, and resources begin to orbit. Daydreaming is optional. Vision is operational. One dissolves when you open your eyes. The other builds the world you will live in tomorrow. There is a deeply embedded belief in human psychology that feels so natural, so morally correct, and so obviously true that almost no one ever thinks to question it. The belief is this, that money should flow toward those who need it most. That desperation, urgent necessity, and dire financial pressure should somehow attract the resources required to resolve them. That the universe or fate or God or the invisible hand of cosmic justice should recognize genuine need and respond with provision. People carry this belief into every interaction with money. They approach opportunities with desperation leaking from every word. They negotiate from a position of need and wonder why they are offered less. They broadcast their lack, their struggle, their urgent requirement for relief, and then stand bewildered and quietly devastated when money continues to flow everywhere except toward them. This belief is not only wrong, it is the precise inversion of how money actually moves through the world. Money does not flow toward need. Money flows away from need with the same reliable consistency that water flows downhill. And the reason has nothing to do with fairness, morality, or whether you deserve relief. And it has everything to do with the energetic frequency that desperation broadcasts and the law-like precision with which reality responds to that frequency when you approach money from a place of need. When your dominant emotional state is lack, fear, urgency, and desperation, you are not simply feeling an emotion. You are transmitting a signal. A vibrational frequency, an invisible instruction set that communicates to every person you interact with, every opportunity you encounter, and every potential avenue of wealth that crosses your path. And that signal says one thing with perfect clarity. I do not have. I am incomplete. I am operating from deficit. I am beneath the threshold of sufficiency, and I require rescue from outside myself. This signal is repellent, not because people are cruel or because the universe is unjust, but because desperation fundamentally alters your behavior in ways that make you objectively less attractive as a partner, an employee, an investment, or a collaborator. Desperation makes you accept unfavorable terms. It makes you undervalue your own contributions. It makes you cling to opportunities that should be released. It makes you move with the frantic, scattered energy of someone who is drowning rather than the calm, deliberate precision of someone building something sustainable. And on a deeper and subconscious level, the level where most human decisions are actually made, desperation communicates unworthiness. It communicates that even you do not believe you deserve what you are asking for. People feel this, not consciously necessarily, but they feel it, and they respond to it by offering less, trusting less, investing less, and moving their resources towards someone else who carries a different signal entirely. That different signal is certainty. Certainty is not arrogance. It is not blind confidence disconnected from competence. Certainty is the quiet, unshakable internal knowing that what you seek is already yours, not as a hope, not as a possibility contingent upon future events breaking in your favor, but as a present reality that simply has not completed its physical manifestation yet. Certainty is what happens when your vision of wealth has been repeated so many times, charged with so much emotion, reinforced with so much disciplined focus, that your subconscious mind has accepted it as fact. And when your subconscious accepts something as fact, it stops being a goal you are chasing. It becomes an identity you inhabit. And everything changes. When you move through the world with certainty, when you negotiate, when you present an idea, when you step into a room, when you make a decision, you are no longer broadcasting lack. You are broadcasting alignment, completion, sufficiency, on the calm, steady frequency of someone who is not begging reality to give them something they do not have, but simply claiming what they already know belongs to them. This energy is magnetic. Opportunities that would have passed you by suddenly slow down and present themselves. People who would have dismissed you suddenly take interest. Negotiations that would have ended in compromise suddenly tilt in your favor, not because you manipulated anyone, not because you faked confidence, but because certainty, real certainty, rooted in a subconscious vision held with disciplined repetition, fundamentally changes the way you show up. It changes your posture, your tone of voice, the questions you ask, the offers you accept, and the offers you walk away from. It changes everything about the way you interact with the world, and the world has no choice but to respond differently. Money does not have emotions. Money does not care about fairness. Money does not move towards suffering or away from joy. Money is energy, and like all energy, it flows along the path of least resistance toward the place where it is most easily received and most effectively utilized. A person drowning in desperation is not an easy place for money to land. Their hands are shaking, their vision is clouded, their decisions are compromised by fear. But a person standing in certainty, a person who has built an internal vision so clear and so emotionally anchored that they already feel wealthy regardless of their current bank balance, that person becomes a stable landing zone, a vibrational match, a gravitational center that money flows toward not because they need it, but because they are ready to receive it, steward it, and multiply it. This is why the wealthy seem to get wealthier with less effort, while those in desperate need struggle endlessly to change their circumstances. It is not favoritism. It is not luck. It is frequency. The wealthy carry the frequency of certainty because they have evidence that wealth is accessible to them. But you do not need historical evidence to generate that frequency. You only need a vision disciplined enough and emotionally charged enough to convince your subconscious mind that the evidence is coming, and the moment your subconscious believes it, the moment certainty replaces desperation as your dominant frequency, you will stop chasing money. And money will start chasing you. There is a reason why millions of people set goals, create vision boards, write affirmations, and declare intentions, and then watch those intentions evaporate into nothing within weeks or months. There is a reason why the same person can say, "I want to be successful" for 10 consecutive years and remain in exactly the same position they started in. There is a reason why the practice of visualization, despite being taught by countless teachers and preached from countless stages, produces transformation in some people and absolutely nothing in others. And that reason is not that the principle is flawed. The reason is not that some people are destined for success while others are cursed with mediocrity. The reason is that most people are feeding their subconscious mind instructions so vague, so generic, so emotionally empty that their subconscious has nothing it can actually act upon. The subconscious mind is not a philosopher. It is not a poet. It does not interpret metaphors or work with abstractions or translate vague emotional yearnings into concrete action plans. The subconscious mind is an engineer, a builder, a relentless, tireless, supremely capable executor of precise instructions. But it can only build what it is given clear blueprints for. And when you hand it a blueprint that says nothing more than "I want more money," or "I want to be successful," or "I want my life to be better," you are handing it a blank page and expecting a mansion to appear. It does not work that way. It has never worked that way. And it will never work that way no matter how many times you repeat the vague desire or how intensely you wish it were true. A master vision, the kind of vision that actually activates the subconscious mind and sets in motion the invisible mechanisms that rearrange reality, must contain 3 non-negotiable components. It must be specific, it must be measurable, and it must be emotionally alive. These are not optional enhancements. These are the foundational requirements without which no vision can ever move from the realm of imagination into the realm of manifestation. Specificity is the first requirement because the subconscious mind operates in images, not abstractions, and it does not understand wealth. It understands a specific bank account balance displayed on a specific screen at a specific moment in time. It does not understand success. It understands the exact title on your business card, the exact office you walk into, on the exact face of the client who just said yes to your proposal. When you say, "I want to be rich," your subconscious receives no usable instruction. But when you say, "I will possess exactly $250,000 in liquid assets by December 31st of next year," your subconscious suddenly has coordinates. It has a target. It has something concrete enough to orient every decision, every impulse, every subconscious nudge toward action around. Vague desires produce vague results because vague desires provide no direction. The subconscious does not know where to point your focus. It does not know which opportunities to highlight and which to let pass. It does not know what to filter for as you move through the noise of daily life. But specificity acts like a GPS coordinate entered into a navigation system. Suddenly the route becomes clear. Suddenly the subconscious knows exactly what to show you, exactly what to make you notice, exactly what pattern of thought and behavior and decision-making will move you incrementally closer to the precise target you have set. But specificity alone is not enough, because a specific target without a deadline is just a wish written in sharper language. This is where measurability becomes essential. Your vision must include an exact timeline, not in the future, an exact date. A specific month, day, and year by which the vision will be physically realized. This is not about creating pressure or setting yourself up for disappointment if the deadline is not met. This is about giving your subconscious mind a sense of urgency, a finite window within which action must be concentrated. Without a deadline, there is always tomorrow, there is always next week, there is always an excuse to delay, to hesitate, to let the vision fade into the background while more immediate concerns take priority. But when you declare, not hope, not wish, but declare with absolute specificity that you will possess a particular amount of wealth by a particular date, something shifts inside your psychology. The subconscious stops treating the vision as optional. It starts treating it as a project with a completion date. And projects with completion dates get resourced differently than vague aspirations. Your mind begins to calculate backwards from the deadline. It begins to ask, what needs to happen this month to stay on track? What needs to happen this week? What decision needs to be made today? This backward calculation is automatic. You do not have to force it. The moment you install a specific measurable deadline into your vision, your subconscious begins working with that deadline as a non-negotiable constraint. And constraints activate creativity, focus, and problem-solving capacity in ways that open-ended timelines never can. But even a vision that is specific and measurable will fail if it is emotionally dead. And this is where the vast majority of people who understand the mechanics of goal setting still fall short. They write down the number, they write down the date, they review it occasionally, and they feel nothing. No surge of excitement, no tightening in the chest, no tears forming at the edges of their eyes, no visceral, full-body emotional response that signals to the subconscious that this vision matters more than anything else currently competing for mental bandwidth. Emotion is the electrical charge that burns a vision into the subconscious permanently. A thought without emotion is processed and discarded within seconds. But a thought combined with intense emotion, gratitude, joy, relief, triumph, overwhelming certainty, is branded into the neural architecture of your brain like a scar. It does not fade. It does not require constant conscious reinforcement. It becomes part of the operating system. And once it becomes part of the operating system, every automatic behavior, every subconscious impulse, every instinctive decision you make begins to align with it without you having to think about it. An asterisk specificity gives direction. Measurability creates urgency. Emotion makes it permanent. A vision containing all three is not a dream, it is a command. And your subconscious mind was built to obey commands spoken in that language without question, without hesitation, and without fail. There is a truth about the nature of reality that is so simple, so obvious once seen, and yet so completely invisible to the vast majority of people walking the earth that they spend their entire lives blaming external forces for internal failures. They blame the economy for their lack of wealth. They blame their employer for their lack of advancement. They blame their upbringing, their education, their geography, their industry, their timing, their luck, or the nebulous concept of the system, for the fact that their circumstances refuse to change no matter how hard they work or how desperately they want something different. And while they are busy pointing fingers outward, searching the horizon for the external obstacle responsible for their stagnation, they completely miss the one force that is actually governing their experience with mathematical precision. And that force is the inner image they hold of themselves and their relationship to the world. Your outer world is not random. Your circumstances are not arbitrary. The experiences you encounter, the opportunities that appear or fail to appear, the people who show up in your life and the people who never seem to notice you, the amount of money that flows toward you or away from you, none of this is accidental. None of it is the result of cosmic dice being rolled in your favor or against you. All of it, every single element of your external reality without exception, is a mirror, a reflection, a precise, faithful, undistorted echo of the dominant mental and emotional image you carry inside your own mind. This is not metaphor. This is mechanism. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. Neuroscience has confirmed this repeatedly. When you imagine an experience with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, the same neural pathways fire in your brain as when you physically live that experience. Your nervous system responds identically. Your body releases the same chemicals. Your brain builds the same connections. And because your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a lived memory and a vividly imagined one, it treats both as equally true and begins to organize your automatic behavior, your instincts, your perception, and your decision-making around whichever image is most frequently repeated and most emotionally charged. If the dominant image you hold inside your mind is one of lack, if you repeatedly see yourself struggling, falling short, being passed over, on being denied what others seem to receive effortlessly, then your subconscious accepts that image as truth. And once it accepts it as truth, it does what it was designed to do. It goes to work making that inner image match the outer world, not because it wants to harm you, but because its entire function is to create alignment between your internal beliefs and your external experience. It does this by filtering what you notice, shaping how you interpret events, influencing the decisions you make without conscious thought, and altering the energy you unconsciously broadcast in every interaction. When you believe at a subconscious level that you are not worthy of wealth, you do not walk into a negotiation and consciously sabotage yourself. You simply accept the first offer. You do not argue for more because something deep inside you whispers that more is not meant for people like you. When you hold an inner image of yourself as someone who always struggles, you do not consciously choose failure. You simply stop seeing the opportunities that require risk, or you hesitate just long enough that someone else takes them, or you interpret every setback as confirmation that success is not your portion. Your subconscious is not punishing you. It is simply ensuring that your outer reality remains consistent with your inner image, because inconsistency creates psychological discomfort, and the subconscious will do anything to avoid that discomfort, even if it means keeping you trapped in circumstances you consciously claim to hate. But the law works both ways with equal precision. If the dominant inner image you carry is one of abundance, capability, worthiness, and inevitable success, if you have built that image with such clarity, such emotional intensity, and such relentless repetition that your subconscious has accepted it as foundational truth, then your subconscious begins working just as tirelessly to align your outer world with that vision. It starts highlighting opportunities your previous mindset would have missed entirely. It shifts your body language, your tone of voice, the questions you ask, and the standards you hold in ways you are not even consciously aware of. It makes you walk into rooms differently. It makes you respond to rejection differently. It makes you notice patterns, connections, and possibilities that were all present in your environment but completely invisible to the version of you operating from a scarcity-based inner image. This is why two people can be born into identical circumstances and end up in completely different destinations. Same starting point, same economy, same opportunities theoretically available, but radically different inner images. One person sees themselves as a victim of circumstances. The other sees themselves as the author of their own outcomes. And reality, cold, impartial, mechanical, faithfully reflects both images back with flawless accuracy. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are living inside a world that your own mind constructed, based on the blueprint you handed it through years of repeated thought and emotion. And the moment you understand this, truly, deeply, viscerally understand that your current reality is not your destiny, but simply the echo of your past inner image, everything becomes possible. Because if your mind built this world, your mind can build a different one. The mirror has not broken. It has never lied to you. It is simply waiting for you to change what you are showing it. And the moment you install a new inner image, specific, measurable, emotionally alive, and repeated until it becomes unshakable, the reflection will begin to change with a speed and precision that will seem miraculous to anyone who does not understand the law. You are not looking at reality. You are looking at yourself. Asterisk. And the day you change the image, the world changes with it. There is a cemetery filled with brilliant ideas, breathtaking visions, and life-altering intentions. It is not a physical place. It exists in the minds of millions of people who once felt the fire of possibility burn in their chests, who once saw with absolute clarity the life they were capable of building, and who once made a silent vow that things were going to change. They read the book, they attended the seminar, they wrote the vision down. For 3 days, maybe a week, they lived in the elevated emotional state of someone whose future has finally broken open. They felt unstoppable. They felt aligned. They felt as though the hardest part of the work was already finished, simply because they had finally decided what they wanted. And then, almost without them noticing, the vision died, not because they consciously chose to abandon it, not because they decided they no longer wanted the outcome, but because they committed the single most common and most fatal error in the entire process of conscious creation. They treated their vision as an event rather than a discipline. They believed that seeing it clearly once or twice, or when they felt inspired, was enough to permanently rewrite the operating system of their subconscious mind. They assumed that the initial burst of motivation was sufficient fuel to carry them all the way to manifestation. This assumption is not just wrong. It is the exact reason why the gap between potential and reality remains uncrossable for most people. Vision is not a photograph you take once and put in a drawer, trusting it will somehow magically rearrange your life while you focus your attention on other things. Vision is a living, breathing, emotionally demanding entity that requires constant, daily, non-negotiable feeding. If you do not feed it, it starves. If you do not reinforce it, the noise of your current circumstances will drown it out. If you do not deliberately carve out time every single day to step back inside that mental architecture and rebuild it with fresh emotional intensity, the default programming of your past will rush back in to fill the void. And within weeks, your life-altering vision will become nothing more than a slightly embarrassing memory of a time you briefly thought you could be more than you are. This is the harsh, unglamorous truth that separates the people who actually change their lives from the people who simply talk about changing them. The people who succeed understand that the subconscious mind is not reprogrammed by occasional flashes of inspiration. It is reprogrammed by relentless, monotonous, emotionally charged repetition. It requires the discipline to hold an image of wealth, success, or freedom in your mind when your bank account is empty, when you have just been rejected, when you are exhausted, and when every piece of physical evidence in your immediate environment is screaming that you are a failure. That is what discipline means. It means refusing to let your current reality dictate your inner image. It means standing guard at the door of your mind and deciding on every single morning when you wake up and every single night before you go to sleep that you will consciously choose what thoughts are allowed to enter. If you are not practicing this daily discipline, what you have is not a vision. It is a hallucination. It is a fantasy you visit when you need emotional relief from a life you are unwilling to actually do the work to change. To turn a hallucination into a vision and a vision into reality requires a protocol. It requires a specific window of time, ideally twice a day, where you disconnect from the external world completely. In the morning before the stress of the day begins, and at night just before the conscious mind shuts down, you must deliberately enter the mental state where the vision lives. You must see the specific details again. You must feel the specific emotions again. You must inhabit the reality of the outcome as if it has already occurred, generating the visceral feelings of gratitude, triumph, and certainty until they overwrite the feelings of lack, fear, and doubt that normally govern your day. This is not easy work. It is often deeply uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the massive gap between where you are and where you intend to be without allowing yourself to feel discouraged by that gap. It requires you to generate emotional states that do not match your current physical circumstances, which feels unnatural to a brain evolved to react to its immediate environment. But this unnatural act is the precise mechanism of creation. The people who master this discipline do not possess better visions than those who fail. They do not possess more intelligence or better luck. They simply possess the stamina to hold the image steady when the world shakes. They possess the commitment to revisit the blueprint every single day until the subconscious mind surrenders, accepts the vision as truth, and begins doing the invisible, mechanical work of making it real. You do not need to be inspired every day. Inspiration is cheap. Inspiration is fleeting. What you need is the cold, deliberate, unshakable discipline to sit in the dark, close your eyes, and build the world you intend to live in. Whether you feel like it or not, day after day, week after week, on until the reflection in the mirror finally matches the image in your mind. Anything less is just wishing. And wishes do not build empires.